You respectfully asked me to change the photo just because you want a different photo. I'm going to do it.
Thanks,
okay?
buddy.
There you go.
That.
We are live, everybody. But we're also on tape. We are Season 2, Episode 8, Episode 108 of Kamloops Last Week. Christopher Foulds, Magic Mike, and Billa at the controls. 8.
Oh, 108, yes.
Mm-hmm. It's my favorite number.
I was thinking 108 is 8?
No, 8.
8's my worst number. I can't stand 8. It's like I avoid 8. Like I was at the Barb's book sale, like the last book sale. I always go there, and I loaded up with a bunch of books. And I came there, and there was 8 books, and I had to run to get another one because it's like
it's just so
bad luck to
symmetrical.
me.
It's just this beautiful,
horrible.
flowing
It's just
number.
this round, horrible. There's no.
Yeah, it's like the infinity symbol.
Yeah, I don't like
right?
it. I know it's very popular with the Asian community.
I
mean, if you look, in Asia, 8 is like the luckiest number. In fact, there's a story not too long ago where in just before the crackdown of the Chinese in Hong Kong, but someone had a license plate with all 8s on it or something, and someone offered to buy it, and the bidding went up, and I think they spent more than $1 million to get this 8.
Well,
if you go to River Rock Casino and you look at their phone number and their address, lots of 8s there, and that's intentional.
I was going to say one of the things I like about 8s is like everybody H8TE, you know, that kind of stuff. I like that, you know.
Yeah.
When I go to the casino, I'm always hammering the 8s when I do roulette.
Yeah, and if you go to River Rock and you play roulette or any other games with numbers, and you see there's a lot of Asians there, they like it's 8's a very in that culture, and conversely 4 is a bad luck number.
Okay.
Apparently, because as you say it, it sounds like the word for death or something. I stand to be corrected, but 8's good. 4's bad when you cross the Pacific.
Mike, you know something we don't about sports, apparently.
Oh, no, I don't want to talk about that on air.
Oh, you don't?
No,
Okay.
no, that's definitely not going to be
Okay.
something. But we'll talk about sport that later.
What do you want to talk about on air? What's going on in your life?
Oh, man, have we ever got some really crazy things going on? Today, we are the cover story for MMR Magazine, and they did a 5-page story on us, our guitar company, the history of what
That's
we were
the
doing.
magazine from which you won that prestigious
We won the
award last
yeah.
year.
And they were just, it was the magazine title is Innovation or Innovative Days or something like that. And that just came out this morning. So
Cool.
That's great.
it feels, it's a special day for me on that one.
It's a special day for us, too. It's Reader's Digest Day. Kamloops Mayor Reid Hamer-Jackson. He's been here already. Quite a conversation, interview.
It's going to be going.
It's something else. But we talk a lot about council meetings, and
Housing.
Volkswagen. We didn't talk about Volkswagen.
Not very much, no.
Well, we did a little bit, actually, later, Terry Lowe. Anyway, let's talk about what was passed on Tuesday, because we haven't really talked about this. The sweeping ban on illicit drug use in public spaces in response to the provincial government's 3-year pilot project permitting illicit drug use in those areas.
Yeah, this was the notice of motion. It began as a notice of motion or a motion from Councillor Katie Newstater, who, quite rightly, in my opinion, saw that the amount of open drug use in the parks in front of businesses is detrimental, and that's a no-brainer. It is, and she's not against necessarily the decriminalization process to see if it helps save lives, but as she pointed out, and I think I pointed out in the column, and our stories have pointed out, the decriminalization and the ultimate intent is to save lives. That's what it is, to get people to come out, don't think it's a stigma, to get help for their addictions. But since the decrim program came in effect in January 31st. We're 8-9 months later, the deaths have only risen, right? So she's saying, while that program is going on, the ancillary problem is that people are using drugs more often in open. It seems that way, and the city has a right to say you can't be injecting needles in parks where families play, where kids play. We talked about this.
Carol Fenton came on and
Carol
gave
Fenton,
her
yep.
side of things.
And the businesses don't want to. The customers coming up and they have to step over someone using drugs. It's not right. And I think the salient point is that there is a bylaw against smoking and drinking alcohol in parks. It should, and like Katie said, and most people agree, it should be a blanket. You shouldn't do any of those substances in a park, in a playground, anywhere where families and kids are, especially during the day.
Will this make a difference, though? Can you enforce it?
Well, that's the thing, and there's no. I know some critics say, well, you can't. You're going to arrest them and fine them. There's no. It's not. It's about education. It's about bylaws officers going into the parks and saying, hey, I get it. You're using your drugs there, but this is a place where kids play and families play. 2 blocks down there's a supervised drug use site. Or if you could just go over here, it's not that complex. It's not that much. It's not that hard to say. Can you please move it? Yeah, there might be people of resistance, but you might get a guy drunk who's resistant. But you have to deal with it because families and kids and the general public shouldn't have to be walking down, worrying about stepping on needles or having their kids see someone ODing. There's problems there, but you can't ignore that people have a right to go and live their lives without having to be confronted with that stuff. And I think Katie's motion, council passed it, and I'm glad they did.
Mike?
You need rules. You need rules to be able to enforce, and if they're not in place, I get that. We see that down in the park. We had a certain
Music in the park?
A certain band that was all about the Caribbean, I guess. and one of the guys in the band said, "It's a free world. I can do whatever I want," and was smoking pot, and we asked him to leave, and he was combative about that, But if you have rules in place, you can enforce them if they need to be enforced.
Yeah, and even if, let's say, you can't enforce them, well, at least you're saying to the people, we're trying, we're doing what we can to deal with this provincial and federal trial project. We're doing what we can to deal with the public health aspects. Yeah, maybe you can't enforce it, but at least the city is passing a bylaw to say, look, we're trying what we can do. There's no harm in doing it.
Okay, switching gears, the mayor on Tuesday, he rescinded his motion, the Reaching Home, Ride Home motion. He wants to get homeless, street-affected, drug-addicted people who want to go back to their hometowns. They're in Kamloops. He wants to get them home.
Yeah, because he's told us and he's told everybody that through his 3+ years of walking the streets in the middle of the night, he's met with many people who aren't from Kamloops who have indicated to him they want to go home, but they can't get home for various reasons. They don't have ID, they can't access money. He wanted to form some kind of committee, some kind of group, working with social agencies and BC Housing and city staff to reach out and say, those who want to go home, if you want to go back to your home communities, we'll help you go home. He rescinded his motion this week because he found out just beforehand that the grant money he wants to fund this is not available. So he's going to come back later with another motion to try to get this thing going. And his new idea is, how about we take the $22,000 budgeted for council and senior staff meals during meetings this year and use that as a launching point for the funding.
You think that's going to go over well with council?
I do not think that's going to go over well with council.
Going to go down like a 7-day-old curry.
If I was to bet, and I'm not a betting man, I would probably bet against that going over well with council.
You are a betting man.
Yes.
You're one of the great betting
man,
mans
yes.
I know.
Yes.
Mike?
I like the idea. If people want to go home and they need to have a way to go home and they can't afford to do it, I don't know what it would cost. I don't imagine it's like astronomical, but I'd step up and sponsor somebody, and maybe there's a lot of other businesses that might do that.
And let's point out that this is already being done by the Canadian Mental Health Association Kamloops chapter and by the Ask Wellness Society. They do this right now. Ask Wellness, I think, in their annual report that's online, sent home or returned to their hometowns 17 people on the streets of Kamloops who wanted to go home in the last fiscal year. So it is being done. But I think there's a the sentiment, if someone is on the street and they want to go back to their home, which might be Edmonton, Abbotsford, Merritt, Kelowna, whatever, and the city can help facilitate that with or without the agencies, it's worth looking into.
Yeah,
for sure. For sure.
Okay. The mayor's wife recorded a call between the mayor and CAO David Trawin, and we actually talked to a lawyer, Ian Curry, about potential legal fallout, and he didn't seem to think, in his opinion,
because of the circumstances,
because of the circumstances, that there's much to worry about there.
Like technically, in Canada differs from USA in this surprising way. Usually in the States, the laws are much more lenient, right? There's much more openness down there. FOI is open. You can access information down there as a reporter way easier than Canada. But in this case, it's reverse. In Canada, it's legal. I could call you and tape you and you don't know I'm taping you. As long as one of the two people know we're being taped, it's legal. What is illegal is a third party taping us without us knowing.
Which in this case would be Lori.
Lori Hamer-Jackson, Reid's wife. They were driving back to Kamloops, or they were driving through Abbotsford, and Reid was talking to CAO Trawin on the phone, and like he said, usually because he's busy and he doesn't have time, his wife, if she's with him and he's talking to someone, he'll put it on speaker and she'll take notes so that afterwards he can review what was said. In this case, this was back in, was it in March, I think? In this case, he said that his wife taped the call rather than take notes, but he didn't know at the time she was taping them talking. Now, technically, that's against the law, because if Reid didn't know he was being recorded, and Trawin didn't know he was being recorded, and Reid's wife next to him was recording it unbeknownst to them, technically, in the criminal code, that's against the law.
Yet,
however,
the lawyer said that because they're married.
Ian Curry says the situation he couldn't see charges ever coming out of it, because it wasn't like she was like tapping in like a CIA spy from across the roadway on a telephone pole. She was doing it to help him out. There was no nefarious reasons for it.
That's what the mayor has said. He said that she takes notes.
Yeah, to help him like afterwards digest what was said. And in this case, instead of taking notes, she recorded it. So I agree with Curry that it's not the same as me taping you outside your bedroom window while you're talking to a friend or something. So, but it's interesting that then he wanted to read the transcript of that call in a council meeting, and he was halted because could have been. Well, that's what Ian Curry said. That is when you have trouble, because now you're revealing the conversation to a third party, which is counsel and the public, and he could have been. And it's good that he didn't. Ian Curry told Michael Potestio in our story, because
I wonder if some of those councils are wishing that they just let him go and read it into the minutes.
That could lead to all sorts of problems with the Privacy Act, with being charged or sued or whatever. So it's good that it didn't get read in, because that could have been the problem more so than the recording itself, which is interesting. Yeah,
Mike, the weekend that we had last weekend, it was one of our most adventurous.
It was ridiculous. Chris had this idea that he wanted us to replay the greatest plays from his beloved BC Lions.
Right.
Right. So
we did a hook and ladder. We called a hook and ladder play.
Hook and ladder play.
Yeah. Then you know what that is?
Absolutely. It's where you.
So what we did was we had to call Terry Lowe in, right? And Terry Lowe kind of acted like the quarterback.
Because you actually need more people to play football than just 3.
But you can do it with 3. The hook and ladder requires only 3 people, as you know already.
Absolutely.
And Terry Lowe, he got into his Volkswagen electric car, and there's a lot of these in stock right now, right?
Yeah, but the rates are so high.
Oh, I know. And we had Gord.
No, the rates aren't high.
The rates are low.
No, they're really low.
Right. Oh, the inventory is high.
Inventory's high, rates are low, cars are great.
He played quarterback, right? And this is the football here. He threw it up to this receiver, Gord Stevens here, right? And Gord Stevens caught the ball, and the McDonald's coffee was start over here.
Yeah.
And he came and he pitched it over back.
He has to turn.
Yeah, he turned. He caught it. He turned. And then he lateraled it to the coffee.
And that's the hook.
And that's the hook and ladder play.
That's the hook, and then the ladder.
Right there.
Yeah.
That was just part of the weekend, though. After we went back, we went all the way back to the North Shore, and we were at Gord's.
Gord's, of course.
We all got dirty in the process of running this play.
Mm-hmm. And nothing gets stains out like a Maytag washer.
Exactly, and there's these deals on right now where you can save, if you bundle up, you can save 2 honey and you can save 3 honey.
So if you get 2 appliances, you save $200?
If you buy any 2 qualifying Maytag and Whirlpool kitchen appliances, you save $200. You buy 3, you get $300 off. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
And right now, you can save money at McDonald's as well. You love the coffees, don't you?
I actually, even if they don't sponsor us, which they do, I've been drinking McDonald's coffees religiously, because it's the best coffee on the go, in my opinion. It's way better than Starbucks. It's better than Wendy's. It's better than A&W.
I love their lattes.
Which,
yeah,
I just think this coffee is the best.
It's $1.39 right now for a small and $1.69 for a medium.
It's good coffee.
And their donuts there make me feel like giants. and they're tasty.
You know who used to have the best coffee though, and I'm not sure if there was a chain when I was
McDonald's
younger
always
called
has
Robin's
best
Donuts back in the day. Remember Robin's?
I remember
Donuts?
Robin's.
Yes.
Yeah. I think there's a few left on the Lower Mainland, but they had a coffee there that was it was called Mother Parker's Coffee is what they used.
They had a Black Forest donut too, I think.
Yeah.
I got a
was
story
delicious.
about Robin's Donuts.
But Mother Parker Coffee was the best.
What was
This
it?
is-
What,
this is-
sorry,
this
what was
is
it called
now
again?
best.
Mother what?
Mother Parker is
Mother
the
Parker.
name of the
I like it.
coffee that they used at Robin's Donuts. Because I asked them, I said, "This is unreal. This is such a good coffee." What's your Robin's Donuts story?
This is not a good. I don't encourage this,
Is that a
but we
broken-
were in high school and it was like 2 a.m. and we happened to be out back of a Robin's Donuts and they had left like 2 crates of donuts out and we put them in the back of our truck and took them and we called it Robin's. And
Robbins.
it's not good, right? But that's my Robin's
It's a
Donuts
similar
story.
story to a buddy of mine, Crazy Charlie Gillis. Where there's Charlie McGill, Crazy Chuck McGill, in Edmonton. He's a good friend of my brother's, Daryl, and I knew him. But him and his buddy,
Charlie McGill?
Charlie McGill, they were coming back from the bar in Edmonton and walking by, I think, the Labatt Brewery or Molson Brewery, one of the big breweries there. And it was in the middle of the night, and they were a little bit tipsy, and they were walking, through the yard, and the truck was open, and there was all this beer, and so they left there with enough beer for like a month.
This is not good. And they could have used a
Jesus.
getaway car. They could have used an electric car from Volkswagen, 400 kilometers per charge, up to 4 years of free charging with Electricity Canada. No luxury tax, Mike. Up to $9,000 in government rebates available.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that out. Like, maybe Chuck's going to get
Now
in
he's-
trouble. Maybe
now he's
I'll
going to
edit-
jail. Is there a
I'm gonna
statute
be in
of
trouble.
limitation
Edit out
or-
that name there. Because
We better move on before we get in trouble.
Yes, absolutely.
Next segment brought to you by, it's Reader's Digest. It's brought to you by McDonald's.
Ba, 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 ba.
It's okay, what can I get for you?
Well, how are you doing today?
I'm good, sir. How are you doing?
Good, I got a question for you.
Yeah, what's your question?
If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go?
I go to my room and sleep.
You go to your room and sleep. No way. Well, I'll tell you what you could do. After you wake up, come right back to McDonald's, get a coffee, because there's such a good deal right now. A small is $1.39, a medium is $1.69, right?
Yes, sir, yeah.
And while you're dreaming, dream about the Grand Big Mac. Whoa,
Oh, that would be perfect.
perfect.
Oh, there. What's she talking about? I got
Reader's Digest returns. Read. We were talking outside about Tranquil and housing, and you said, don't let me forget about it. So let's talk about it off the top. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking we need to really you speak with the province or whoever. We're on a list of building houses, and I think that we've got 1,500 units out there that I really think that we
Plan for out there.
Yeah, plan for out there, and I think that we really got to get working on that.
We're talking Tranquil on the Lake, which is the old sanatorium site past the airport. People know about it. Probably recently, they had a lot of Halloween stuff out there. They had a farmer's market. It's a very cool old place, right?
Yeah.
That's the place you're talking about. You used to ride your horse through
We
there
used
as
to
a
ride
kid.
our horses through there. It
That's
was
right.
beautiful. They had, it was basically, they had hay fields and cattle and chickens and pigs and,
Yep.
basically it was self-sustaining pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So where is it at? I mean, what would the future look like, or what would you like to see, and how could it happen?
Well, I think it's in the works right now. I believe it's been in the works for a while, and I think so. Hopefully, and I don't know. We'll have to see what the problem is. If it's a provincial problem or a city problem, or But I think we just want to focus on it. Again, it's 1,500 units, and we need housing. So.
The owners
As a matter of fact,
the owners
yeah.
have a plan for it, and it's just working its way through the system because there's a lot of aspects to it. But
Yeah.
it would be like a city on its own out there, wouldn't it? Basically.
Yeah, it's like a lot of units, so a lot of things can happen out there.
Well, we were talking about housing, and you wanted to talk about the Park Crest situation going out there with an owner who's been at council and related.
I thought it was it was an interesting sort of snapshot of the problem probably across Canada is everyone says there's a housing crisis, and there is a housing crisis. The rents are sky high, housing prices are sky high, people can't afford houses, there's not enough inventory out there, so people say we need to accelerate. The provincial government has Kamloops as one of 10 cities that they're going to say you have to hit these housing targets. It's supposed to come out this month, I think. We talked to David Eby, the premier, this week. Or last week when he was in town, and he says that number should come out this week, and so the cities will be, the province will say we want you to hit this many housing targets in the next so many years or whatever, but so this is happening across Canada, and then so there was just what looked like just a routine, boring application to put was it a carriage house or some kind of additional structure on a piece of land in Brocklehurst, which would seem just like, okay, routine. But a lot of neighbors don't want that because of, it might encroach upon their privacy, or they moved into a neighborhood, thinking it's, single family residential, and they don't want this. So I just think it's interesting that even those people will probably agree there's a housing crisis, but a lot of people want it solved, but sometimes maybe not too close to their own home. So that's what happens sometimes.
Yeah, actually, it's happened to me. I mean, I live at the end of a cul-de-sac where we had very little people. Now there's units getting in, basement suites and things like that.
Yeah.
And at first you're kind of like, they parked all over here. You can't, sweep the streets and things like that.
Problems, yeah.
But you know what? Once you get to know those neighbors and things like that, and you gotta know that you're gonna. You're going to have more people. We're going to need more people around us. It's something that you kind of, you do, in Brocklehurst, for instance. When I was a kid, there was apple orchards and everything else. So,
big
it's
lots
just,
out there.
Yeah, huge lots. And there still are a lot of huge lots
Yeah.
out there. And with this infill development and stuff like that, there's a lot of spaces there's nothing happening there. And there could be parking, in the same facilities and stuff like that. And I think that we all, we don't like change, and sometimes change is hard to adapt to, and which we can see at where I work now.
At City Hall?
City Hall.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The Magic Mirror is brought to you by Volkswagen. Mike, you have
Hey,
something to say?
well, it's interesting you mentioned that, like the whole infill kind of a thing, because I think that's a really major thing that we need to do to increase affordable housing. My block that I have, which is interesting, there's 10 lots that can be subdivided in behind it, and one of my neighbors tried to do that, but we had to bring in all the costs for everything from the road and put in that road. Do you think that the city should bear some of that cost?
Well, I think we have DCC, charges and things like that, and there are areas too. I don't think it's good for every area. There's areas that it's not. It's just like traffic, studies and things like that. But the city does a lot of that stuff. So I think
Sure.
I think they did in this case too in Brocklehurst, where
Yep.
it wasn't a big thing. And it's like the same as I live on the end of the cul-de-sac. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have more traffic, but it's a little more traffic. It's not causing any troubles. And
I think it adds to the neighborhood. Like, we had a 5-story apartment building go in a block away from our house, and we got a lot more people walking dogs, and we meet our neighbors more, and it's actually
social.
it's more
more
the neighbors,
social.
like the people that just live up the road from me. They're renters and things like that, and they're great kids. Everybody's a kid because I'm old, but they're great. Like you hear their cars start up every morning. They're going to work. They're doing their thing.
It's a routine, yeah.
Yeah. So at first you're like, oh, geez, what's he doing parking there? Well, it's not a big deal. It's tough. Change is tough for people.
So basically the message is you understand people's consternation, you understand their concern, but we all have to get together and realize this is the new normal.
Well, yeah,
The needed normal.
and again, in some cases, but when for instance, and I respectfully would say that somebody that, says, I'm going to be looking at, I'm looking at this, but then I'm looking at that. Well, that's why you have blinds. Like if you're private, you have blinds, right? I used to be able to
Don't they say fences is something your neighbors put up so they don't have to see you sunbathing in the backyard?
Yeah, that's right. I'm in a neighborhood where I live. My house, I used to be able to look up the North Thompson and see the mountains and see the snow on the mountains. But right beside me, we put up an emergency pump station, which is built right to the river. That blocked my
Blocked your
whole
view.
block.
And that does kind of suck for you, doesn't it?
Bastards.
Well, for sure, waking up in the morning, be able to have a cup of coffee or whatever, and be able to look up and see the whole up the North Thompson and the mountains up there.
That's a nice view, actually,
It's a very nice view. But you know what? We had to put an emergency pump station in there, and they built it right up to the river, and it blocked my view. But I haven't missed a lot of nights sleep over it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's switch gears. You would like to get homeless people in Kamloops who want to get to their hometowns. Tuesday, you withdrew a motion.
People, a lot of times, I just want to hold off there a second. It's not necessarily just homeless. People struggling with mental health and substance use, and that have been kicked out of or banned from other shelters and other supportive housing units and stuff. Again, over 3 years, I've talked to them on the streets, and you guys have you guys experienced it right there. I mean, where a person living in a facility, but was on the street at 4 o'clock in the morning. And again, that guy there, we didn't ask where he was from. But I get a lot of them, and I've told you about the story about the kid that I got his jacket back for him, and he wants to get back
Nova
to
Scotia.
Actually, I think that's Newfoundland. I think Newfoundland, that young guy. And he still does, but he's having a hard time getting his ID, which shouldn't be that hard to get his ID because he's supported, by social assistance or whatever. So they do have addresses and things like that. So, and I understand that some agencies are doing that, but I mean, it was very clear to me that Out of the Cold could use this type of
Before we get to that, though, and how frustrating was it for you on Tuesday? Because you withdrew your motion, you found out, I guess that morning through a news article, Byron McCorkle was quoted saying that the funds you thought were going to be there are not going to be there. I mean, was this frustrating for you?
Well, that was very frustrating, especially when, as you know, initially I got making a phone call to a senior project manager for BC Housing and got security started on West Victoria Street, and then I looked at a Strengthening Homeless Community grant funding that we spent $1 million, and when I questioned it, we were going to, because BC Housing stopped participating from what I understood, and then found out that we're going to be getting credited back from that. Well, that probably, if it's $1 million, could possibly be $300,000 or $400,000, and then just recently, there's been agencies that have given back. One agency alone gave back like $120,000 out of the Reaching Home fund. So I was quite shocked, and that just happened recently. And also this 2021 rebate or credit or whatever you want to call it would have been this year, because it was at the tail end or the beginning of this year that I'd questioned it. And so it was very frustrating, especially when, I put the motion forward last council meeting. So our acting CAO, I was very...
Who's Byron?
Byron McCorkle.
Who's Byron McCorkle, why he wouldn't have made me aware that money wasn't available. And yet the morning of, again, we were supposed to be discussing it at council, the morning of, or the day before, he's speaking with the media about it. Well, he could have informed myself or our executive assistant that funds are all gone. And again, I don't know how the funds got dispersed so quick after somebody returned them, where it went to, but I will be looking into that because I'd like to know where those funds are. I mean, it's no different than we're the bank, and when we're handing out $90,000 plus to an agency for picking up needles, we're the bank for that Strengthening Homeless Community grant money. I also did add in there about, through BC Housing, through agencies, because there are other agencies that are getting funded for this through BC Housing. So why not other agencies that really need it,
Well, as I understand it, the two main funding things that you were looking at, Reaching Home is a federal government grant program, and as I understand it, what you want to do with that money...
So is the UBCM, was federal and provincial.
But I'll get to that.
But we're the bank.
So the Reaching Home funds, as I understand it, by looking up this criteria, how you wanted to use that money would not be allowed anyway. It's not for that part of the homeless thing. Also, that money had a timeline and it's been reallocated. Okay, that's one thing.
So when did it get reallocated? Because it was just sent back.
I'm not sure, but as I understand it, it was reallocated based on the rules around it. We got to figure that out.
Now,
the Strengthening Home one, the provincial UBCM and the federal government one, as I understand it, Brian McCorkle said city staff told council, including yourself, I assume, in March, that money, the funds dry up in August of this year. So he said, hey, I don't know why you don't know, but the staff told council in March that money, the strengthening grant, was to end in August. Now, last thing here, you said, well,
but one thing,
why didn't he tell you that?
Just hang on, I've studied that grant.
Yeah.
you can ask for extensions in it.
Okay.
Because they asked for extensions in the first one.
All right.
And partly
Well,
to be why I went
As
in
mayor,
front of council.
why didn't you ask for extensions or ask the staff to ask for
Well,
extensions?
I assumed that money would be there, but again, why did? And again, I'm sure that our CAO will be, taking appropriate actions. But why there wasn't an email to me through
let's flip
Chrissy
that,
through our executive assistant? Like why again? Why
does a
is
great
the
job.
media notified about it?
She does a great
Well,
job.
let's flip
why-
this on its head there for a second. You're saying, why didn't McCorkle tell you what he told the media? Because you have this this notice of motion coming saying, I want to use this money. Why didn't he tell you, hey, Reid, the money's not available? Let's flip it on its head. I've heard people say to me, if you as mayor or even any of the 8 councillors are going to say, I'm going to present a notice of motion next week and I want to use this money, they argue it's your job, not his job. You should do the research before you do the notice of motion to know whether that money's there. That's what they're saying.
Well, and again, the reaching home money was just returned.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know when, but recently.
Very recently.
Yeah.
I was the one that got involved with the security thing.
Back in the day.
So,
yeah.
Well, not back in the day,
yeah,
but
yeah.
even as early as the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So that money, how did that money that we didn't even have, but now we're getting credited back a portion of $1 million? Where did that money go?
Well, that's it.
It's not clear. I don't know where that money went. But not only that, in the motion, if you read the motion,
Mm-hmm.
it also says working through social agencies with
yeah.
BC Housing. Well, why are we focusing on the ones that, again, I've asked a lot of questions about things, I mean, so we can go back to why somebody picks up, which I understand it should be investigated, but why somebody would be picking up election
Is it
signs
an
before
issue
the
of
election's over.
of general discord then that nobody's really going out of their way to help each other?
Well, all I'm saying is when I get up in the morning before it's supposed to be discussed with council, and I get up in the morning and I see that Castanet has an article, and it was quite detailed about this money. It's not detailed where the money, how that money, where it come from, where it went. And again, if I've got to come up with a different motion, that's what I'll do. And again, we've got, I think our budget for just us eating meals is $22,000, and that'd be a great start
Let's look forward to-
if I can get that passed.
Let's
through
talk
council.
about that. $22,000 a year.
That's the budget for
That's for like when you have those long meetings to bring in sandwiches and stuff like that. Is that what the budget's for?
short meetings too.
Yeah, you get sandwich. I mean,
Well, in the morning we have muffins, and
Yeah.
so you can have
I
breakfast.
don't think there's anything wrong with that. You guys need to eat. But what do you say? What
What do you guys do? Do you guys bring in?
well,
What about the other 800? What about the other 800 staff that work for the city? They're working all day.
I was trying to promote McDonald's and
No, but again, I don't.
Cranberry orange muffin and a
Listen,
latte.
Grand Big
That's
Macs.
it.
Listen, all I'm telling you is this $22,000. Sometimes we have so many meals, we have extra meals.
Okay.
It all gets catered in. What's wrong with bringing your own lunch? What's wrong with supporting your own establishments, whether it be McDonald's or Tim
You
Hortons?
say there's
or
food left over sometimes?
Lots of food
Do you
left
always
over.
give it to the people out in the grass there?
No, I think that we give it to certain staff members that usually typically already bring their lunch.
You should give it to the
And
homeless.
again, we're talking breakfast, muffins and stuff like that. We're talking lunch. If the meeting does go a little longer, we go down to a restaurant or more food gets shipped in.
But your idea
so
is
why
to take this
why
money-
should me, the mayor? Okay, I'm talking for myself here.
Sure.
Why should I get paid like over $100,000 a year?
You do.
Why should I be getting free meals? Or why should the majority of the highest paid people councilors a part-time job, so that's a little different.
The directors
but
get
still,
well paid, sure.
Yeah, but why are we? When I walk through all the buildings, and I have, and all the people that work for the city are bringing lunches, and there was one, he had a really nice looking sandwich there. I was going to ask if I could have half of it. I would have paid him for it, but
He brought that in himself.
not only that, if you really get hungry, I eat peanuts. Like there's stuff in the.
Tell us about that place. You're telling us about that.
It's in the
You
lunchroom.
found a
It's in the
secret
lunchroom.
place where, like,
It's not
for-
secret. It's
for
in the
$1,
lunchroom. It's right in City Hall.
Can I go and do it? I can't go in there and eat it. Is it cheap?
Well, you know what I would do, and I don't know if there's anything wrong with it, but if you are there for a long time, and as a matter of fact, I did offer it to, I think Michael and them, if
Yeah.
they
You
wanted a
try to
bag
buy
of
'em
peanuts. Yeah. For $1, I can go get them a bag of peanuts
How
for
can it be
$1.
$1? Are they subsidized? Are we subsidizing that vending machine? Because when I go get peanuts,
I think that's staff. I think that's a staff thing. So maybe I won't invite you guys to. Okay. Like I'd go get it anyways. But again, the other thing too is, we spent I think almost $1,000 last year when the ESS, they were having a volunteer.
Sure. Yeah.
dinner
Sandman Center, wasn't it?
at Sandman Center, and at the same time, I learned about 4 o'clock that it was happening. The volunteers, we're down at a restaurant in a private room with just the council, and we're spending $1,000. And I left there early. My wife and I left early, and we went down to the ESS thing, and it was so nice because there was old volunteers coming up. Oh, I volunteered for this many years, and talking to them. So I'd like to wipe that out too, because I don't think it's necessary.
What's
I think
not necessary?
to have that dinner for $1,000. I think that we should be
What dinner
with the
for
volunteers.
Who had a $1,000 dinner?
We did a Christmas.
Oh, for
the same night.
Yes. While
Like
the
I said, I
volunteers
left.
were
I
having it.
left.
Yeah,
I left the council dinner a little early to
Yeah.
go down to the ESS
With the volunteer dinner
thing.
there,
So
yeah.
there's $1,000 right there. So
Okay. So
How
you
do
see,
you,
it
how do you
all
think
adds up.
council is going to digest this motion, though?
well, I think that if you look at our fiscal responsibility and all the initiatives that we want to put forward, I think that it should be a slam dunk.
But what do you think is going to happen?
I don't want to predict.
Yeah.
I did say at one point that people were betting against my motion passing for the Reaching Home Ride Home program, and I won't mention any people's names, but
Who was
yeah.
doing that? Who was betting against that?
citizens,
How do you know?
because they told me.
Well, really? There's like
Mike.
a pool out there on it?
Well, I understand what you're doing. You're looking at it like you would your business. I look at my business, look at all the cost lines, especially at the end of the year, and I go, wait a second, we have a meals and entertainment budget. It's $10,000. Why is it $10,000? Can't we use that money for something else and do that? And that's maybe you can use that $1,000 to make it better for the volunteers or something like that.
Yeah, and the 22. We have a $22,000 budget.
I get that.
And,
I guess that's
I
also
I can see
the,
one day me saying, "Hey, I'd like to buy everybody lunch today." Well, I'll take that out of my own salary. Okay.
I guess that's sort of
maybe
like
other people. Maybe we get a bunch of people. It's no different than what they do with the staff treats thing in the lunchroom. I think they all put money in and support that, right?
Early on, you were talking CMHA and Ask Wellness. They're already doing what you would like to be done. They're doing it, but you would like to see it be done in a more robust manner, right? So what does that mean? More robust?
Well, more active. When I've been talking to people on the streets for the last over 3 years, and people are banned from facilities, kicked out of facilities, and they want to go home, and they still are. Again, when I get 3 people walk out of the shelter and are sitting on my planters, for instance, and I'm not just I'm talking all over the city. I mean, it's like the guys that were on the beach down on Vickers Road. I mean, they got kicked out of a motel, and there they are. And some of them want to go home. And when I come up, and I've told you guys this before, they're on my property, and 3 of them want to go home. One guy wants to go back to Winnipeg, one guy Terrace, and one guy Vancouver.
So what's more robust, though? What's the more robust way of doing it then? How would you like to see it done?
the same way, but more robust.
What does that mean? How can you do it?
Well, do you
more
want me to
robust?
break it down, get into the weeds?
A little bit, yeah.
Well, it's not up to me. That's why I want to have outreach workers. Did you read the motion?
I did when I've
you
been
read the
paying
whole thing?
attention to the news articles.
Yeah,
and
but
the
not
out
the
of
news
cold-
articles. But
out
what
of the
about
cold? You said
The actual motion is in the news article, the entire motion.
Well,
so yes.
actually, that's right. Okay, so there was one news article that said bus. Well, there's nowhere.
Not ours.
I know. I
it's
didn't
copied,
say.
It's right
I
there.
said there's some new. You said you're reading news. Are you
Yes.
reading your own news?
Yes.
reading our news, yes.
Okay, but other news sources said that I'm something about buses. The young guy that wants to get back to Newfoundland.
Yeah.
It might be a WestJet flight for $372.62. I don't know.
right.
But again, right in front of us, there was one agency that got in front of us and said that they could use the program. So if we're allowing it for, you said 2 agencies.
Ask Wellness and CMHA are doing it right
I
now.
believe that
Yep.
I believe the mustard seed has now got something going, and I believe that we should be allowing it to go to any agencies. And when I'm getting a phone call from a shelter in the middle of the night, and a young lady is traveling through from Vancouver and wants to get to Prince George, but is here and wants to get back, I believe it's their human right, and if they want to go, then Why wouldn't we let them go home? This young guy that wants to go back to Newfoundland, he's having a hard time getting that identification. So I guess that's what I mean robust. Well, let's work harder at getting him his ID so he can get back to his family and friends.
But that lady who came in through and she's stuck here, she could go to Ask Wellness to CMHA and they can help her get there. No?
Well, but what if she's banned from there?
Well, yeah, I don't know. But those agencies.
But
those agencies
what if she
do help.
is?
Well, then, I don't know exactly.
Well, could you find out for me?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who this person is.
Well, then what are you talking about for?
Well, what I'm saying is these agencies sent Ask
So why-
Wellness sent 17 back in the last year. CMHA sends people back, but Alfred Achoba, he told media that we're doing this, but it's not as simple as just saying here's a bus ticket. They
Well, I
have-
didn't say.
what
Now
they
here we
said,
go
though-
again. You just said bus ticket.
or
again.
plane ticket or whatever. What he says is it's a little more complicated than just having people sent back. He says what they do is they say, okay, where do you want to go? Where do you live? When you get there, where are you going to stay? Do you have mental health supports? Do you have a doctor? Do you have any prescriptions? So there's a
Perfect.
lot more work involved to send people back, right? That's what he's saying.
Perfect. So why are we not allowing that with other agencies? Why are you?
Any agency can do it.
No,
There's
no.
if they want to,
You
they can.
obviously didn't watch council.
Yes, I did. They can do it
What
if
did
they want to.
Renee Stein say?
The resources
She
aren't
could
there
use-
to do it.
that's-
Yes, the
that's-
resources. But there's no law saying they can't do it. She said we could use it. She said there was a few people that 2 or 3 that she said could go back. So you're saying if the city got involved with some social workers, it could expedite it and expand what's already happening. Is that what you're saying?
Sure, exactly.
Okay.
Why not? Why just have specifics?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people that are kicked out of the shelters are from those
They're caught in that gray
organizations,
area.
right?
They can't go and talk to these
right.
people.
So
Okay.
if Renee or another agency had the same capacity to do that, and again, in the motion, and again, we keep focusing on the little points that we want to, but in the motion it says through social agencies,
yes.
through BC Housing.
Yes.
So how are they funded? How is the 2 agencies, Ask Wellness and CMHA, how are they funded?
They're funded through BC Housing with some of their places that they run, and they're funded through tax dollars too.
So why not other agencies?
Well, why not? Yeah, sure. That's the question asked to us was.
That's
it's
what
already
I'm
been
at-
done. Why
I'm-
not do? And you've answered that. You say you want to expand it.
Yes.
Why not expand it? Because
Yeah.
there's more people there who need the help.
You bet.
On that note, the point in time count, which is the every couple of years they do 2 days. We've talked about this before, but they count the homeless in the shelters and out on the streets. And the last
people
one,
with mental health and addictions or mental health and
Yeah.
substance abuse.
well, the last one.
You see, a lot of them, you just said that, but you know different. Okay, you know different.
What?
Well, you said homeless, but at 4 o'clock in the morning, Mike.
Well, yeah, the
you,
guy,
me,
yeah.
No, but not,
No,
That's one individual
No, he had
that
his-
actually lived.
He lived in Spiro House. He was down the road. He was had his stuff there. He was.
Okay, but
having a
if
little
we
smoke.
drove by and we didn't stop, like I said, let's stop and talk. If we drove by, what would you call that person?
Well, you would think he would be homeless.
Thank you.
But they, when they do the point in time count, they talk to them, they interview them, because it's not just a count. It's like, where are you from? How long you been here? What's your background? Do you have any
I got to
special
tell you a little
needs?
story.
Whatever.
I've been doing it for over three
Yeah,
years.
but I'm just saying.
Okay, no, I'm just saying.
Yes.
I've been doing it for over 3 years.
Yes.
The point in time count. How many hours is it?
It's over 2 days. And one's during the day.
24
one's
hours
during
a
the
day,
night.
2 days, so 48 hours.
No, it's.
How many hours?
Well, one's 9 to 5 and one's like 5 to 10.
How
or something
many
like that.
hours is it?
I'm getting back to my.
No,
my-
not just a question.
No, I don't know.
How many hours?
Well, I have to look up
You
the
just said
story.
2 days.
We did a story over 2 days.
Well, I'm going to tell you that it's not 2 days.
Well, it's over 2 days.
a lot less than
I'm not
24
saying
hours.
It's 48
This is
hours.
just-
I'm saying it's done on one day and another day. My question is
And
this.
how much?
The last
and how
one
much
had,
emphasis do we put into it?
The last one had 206 people found to be homeless, and everyone says, well, it's always more than that.
And that was done. That was done
This is-
2 hours in one
This is getting
shelter.
to my point here. Renee, out of the cold, has said that last overwinter, and we stopped at that shelter when we went out, right, out of the cold at Stewart Wood. This is my point here. The last homeless count had 206 people, even though they said there's probably more, but 206. The one 2 years before had 201.
And we built.
But let me
how many
finish.
years?
People say there's way more there. Now here's my point. Renee at Out of the Cold says over the last winter, because they're getting ready this year, they dealt with more than 700 individual people, not repeat visitors, more than 700 unique visitors, which tells you at some point there was at least 700 people without homes, without shelter in Kamloops over the winter at various times. So that's almost 4 times the actual count. My question is, does that surprise you, or do you always suspect the homeless count is way under what's really out there?
What I feel is that we've got to really dig into this, because I feel that we had, prior to the BC housing buildings coming in, I think in 2018-19, I think we had like 100 and some many people
Counted.
that were counted, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So even since the 216, we've built a lot of units for mental health and substance use. Okay, this is not just a homeless thing. There's homeless, then there's people with mental health and substance
Yep.
use disorders, right?
Yep.
So we keep building units, and our point in time count keeps going up.
Yep.
So where are they all coming from?
Well, that's the question.
Well, I can tell you right now,
Well,
because I've been doing this for over 3 years
Yep.
on the streets, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can all talk about, you guys have done it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they coming from? Well, I can tell you right now, they're coming from all over the place.
Yeah.
When I get a guy from Winnipeg,
Were you keeping
Same.
data of all this too? Or is it just in your head? We should start keeping track of it.
it's a
data.
little late, it's 3.5 years.
And there's a lot of people from Kamloops too on the street. I mean, most of the people on the street are from here.
No, they're not.
Yeah, most of them are.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are. Most of them.
How do you know that?
I've talked to them. We've talked to them. The data.
And you've done this for over 3 years?
In the point in town count.
I know the guys from Kamloops.
Look at the data in the point in time count of the 206 people they talked
How many hours?
to. I'm just saying 206
So
people they
you
talked
believe?
to. I don't
I shouldn't
disbelieve
say
it.
believe,
I don't
but,
disbelieve it.
But you think you can get real accurate records by doing
It's
going into a shelter for 2 hours,
They're
or
talking to
one day
people.
doing between this time and this time?
think-
You believe?
I think
and
you
you
can
don't
get
think
some,
that you
sure.
don't think that being on the streets for over 3
No,
years
what I'm
is a
saying
good.
is there's more people out there, but they did talk to 206 confirmed people who don't have homes, and of those 206 people they talked to, it doesn't matter when they did it, they found 206 people who are homeless, and of those 206 people, the vast majority have been in Kamloops for more than 5 years. That's what that count found. I'm not saying there aren't people from elsewhere, but I'm just saying that, and when we did we've done two major...
So what's your point?
My point is from this whole thing is the point in time count has 200 people in the last 4 years, but Renee is saying we actually dealt with 700 unique visitors, more than that. My question was, do you think there's far more homeless on there than what's being counted? And if so, what more can we do about it? Because we are, like you say, we're building all these places, but the problem seems to be growing up. And I know of people who have lived in Kamloops, and because of various circumstances, financial or otherwise, addictions, they're no longer in houses. I know of two people, they're acquaintances of mine who used to be in regular homes. They're on the street now because of addiction. They're from here. There's obviously people come from elsewhere.
See, homeless people aren't. What about the homeless people that aren't dealing with mental health and
Yeah.
substance use
Yeah.
problems? What about?
Well, that's one of them.
What about them?
It's financial.
So it's no different. I'm going to tell you right now. I'll finish my story, and this is just one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whatever the point in time count says, and whatever this says, and whatever that says, that's great. But when I'm on the streets,
Mm-hmm.
and a guy from Winnipeg tells me, and this was back, I'm going back. He says, Reid, I came here because you guys have free housing, free food, free clothes, and he was from Winnipeg. And you guys have a motorhome that'll come around and give us drugs, eh?
I don't think they do. They don't give drugs here. They
No,
give you a
he was
place to
talking
do
about
your
the
drugs.
Can I finish?
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
He was talking about the motorhome that we had that went around.
It was a size, yeah.
I'm telling you what he said.
I know, but I'm saying they don't give free drugs.
did.
They were
I'm
giving a
telling-
place to do the drugs. That's all I'm saying.
telling you what
I'm
he's-
trying to make sure the
I wasn't
facts
going to
are
argue
true.
with him, okay? It was
Yes,
I had
know.
my hoodie on.
Sure,
It was
okay,
3 in the
but
morning.
that's what he thought. That's what he heard.
That's what that's exactly what he felt from Winnipeg.
Yeah.
When I get a guy that comes onto my property and says that he came from Williams Lake because his brothers saw a Facebook post of an agency that had need housing, need this, need that. And he came, his brothers gave him $800 to come to Kamloops for that. But he didn't get that. He was at the shelter. When he got here, they didn't have that housing. It wasn't available, okay? It was on a Facebook post. When he's at that Emerald shelter and he tells me this story, and again, he thought that I ran the ad and had free cars or subsidized
Okay.
cars and things
Yeah.
like that. But again, if I've got 200 people waiting for cars, okay? I don't have 200 cars. I've got no cars coming. Why would I put on my Facebook page
Well, I don't know if
come
that
for cars?
Volkswagen has a lot
You
of
know
cars.
a little more about this.
Volkswagen has
this
electric
gone-
cars available
This stuff
right
has
now.
gone back long before
Very low
I even
rates,
thought of
too.
being the
Low
mayor.
rates, too.
Yeah.
You know a lot more about this. You probably just can't remember it.
Okay, let's switch gears. Let's switch
I can,
gears. We've
I
had a
can.
good conversation.
Yeah.
Last week's
bring
council
that- we'll
meeting.
bring that up.
Let's switch gears. Last week's council meeting, zany. Your wife recorded a phone call between yourself and David Trawin. Are you worried about any potential legal fallout from that?
No. Well, again, my wife. I mean, we've got you guys. Your reporters record us all the time in City Hall, but my wife, she gets upset with me because I ask her to take notes when I'm taking phone calls. So this particular time, you know, she even says, "I'm not your secretary," right, and stuff like that. So this particular time, instead of her taking notes, she decided to hit her record and recorded our conversation.
You were in a car, right? You're
Yeah, we were in a
driving.
vehicle driving through Abbotsford.
Okay.
And so she recorded it. So I took notes and I transcribed it.
Well, afterwards,
Yes.
you were driving. You were talking to CAO David Trawin about the.
Yes, about Noble Creek.
Noble
and,
Creek
I
issue,
can remember
yeah.
the conversation.
Yeah.
And the reason I brought it up is because when I'm told by the CAO to tell the Noble Creek people that, and I'm going out that night or the next morning, and I'm told that I can tell them that we're good for this year. You can tell that the province is giving us authorization to riprap. This was in March. And that we're good for this year, and we will be working with Forest Ministry, and I will be calling the Forest Ministry, and I even said to him, so you'll load my lip on that? Yeah, so I know. And so we're going to be working with them. And he says, absolutely. So I go and tell them that. And the other thing, too, is, I mean, did you guys read last year's decision where they were going to keep it for at least 2028?
Yeah.
You know, and again, that was the last decision we made as city council. I wasn't on, but and it's going to be there till it was
28, yeah.
May 10th to June something that it was going to stay till 2028. And I asked councillors if you've read this decision, and you know, and Councillor Hall got up and talked about how, you know, as being a businessman, how if you didn't have a backup plan, he's asking Deb Woodward from the winery.
I remember that, yeah.
And I'm like, well, why would you have a backup plan when you were just told that you've got till 2028?
So you wanted this
And
read
again-
into the minutes.
You bet. And again, I want it read into the minutes. I also want it read into the minutes my conversation with Minister Ma, because it wasn't in the minutes, because she'd text me and I'd said what it was, and I'm sure she's fine.
Well,
she
you came back and read the message.
Yeah,
to
and they
council.
didn't put them in the minutes, and
Right.
so I wanted the minutes to be
Right. But you orally, we heard what.
yes,
she
and then
said.
later in the meeting, and I don't think I don't see anywhere where it's up to the corporate officer to decide what goes in or out of the meetings, but apparently, because now okay, it's on a text that she sent me. That's what I said in the minutes.
Yep.
Okay. Why? So you're telling me that you're not allowed to put that in the minutes? Well, again, I've got to look into that stuff.
be that as- yeah.
Councillor Karpak appears worried about trust now. He says, how many others have read it and other city information we also don't know? This mayor doesn't get why there are rules to safeguard our corporate interests so it doesn't cost us money or opportunities. What's your opinion on that
Well,
statement?
come on. Councillor Karpak has never walked up to me and apologized about the fart joke thing either. But again, you know, it's all FOIable. You know, it's all FOIable. So whether it's a text or a phone conversation or whatever, you guys can FOI it. So, you know, that's all stuff that's, to me, putting the corporation at risk when I'm telling the users that you're good and you're not. To me, I think we need to get that out there. So when you talk about trust, let's open up to the public some of these meetings. You know, let's open up to the public what's going on. And, you know, you talk about policies what we have within the city about recording, whether you both agree or not. Do we have any policies in place about leaking emails?
Well, yeah, I think there is, yeah.
So why are you not abiding by them?
Not me. I'm not. It's not me. It's you. It's your staff. Whoever's leaking the emails. It's not us.
What do you mean? You act like you don't know.
Well, we're not. We're not part of the policy. We're not privy to that
No,
policy.
but you know that people are breaking the policy.
I have no knowledge.
Well, maybe
of
there
that.
isn't a policy.
I have no knowledge of that. No, I have no knowledge. But are you all concerned?
You're changing the subject pretty quick here.
No, I don't know anything about who gives.
Do you think
people
if there was a policy that you're not allowed to leak emails,
Yeah.
would you tell me who the leaker is?
Well, no, the person in the city hall
We can't burn our sources.
We can't burn
ever.
sources.
I mean,
ever,
if you told me
yeah.
something in confidence and I went and told somebody that, you'd be pissed at me.
We
right?
would never
I mean,
do that.
We can't
Ever,
do that.
ever.
I don't want to.
Well, being a public figure and we're taking an oath, I would tell you,
And whether there's
we've
a
talked
policy,
about
whether
this.
there's a policy or not, and whether it's being breached, that's something that City Hall deals with. If somebody in City Hall thinks that the media should have this document or this information because it's in the public good, but for whatever reason it's not being released, and we get that information, which we sometimes do, that's nothing to do with us. That they got to deal with their own security there. But if that information, hey, that's not us. That's you guys.
Yeah,
Now,
but you know, when I sent out an email, having proposed adjustments to the standing committees,
Sure.
and the declaration on the end of our emails
Yep.
says that I'm supposed to be giving written consent for somebody to share them.
Sure. Well, you have to go and ask the person who gave me that.
Well, how am I going to find that person?
I don't know. Start asking questions. You're the mayor. Figure it out.
What about Noble Creek updates? Minister Ma, have you had any more conversations, or can you fill it? Is there anything else kind of going on? Foulds and I were wondering.
You know, the last Minister Ma told me that we've got some time. The Minister of Forest got on the radio, said we're working with them.
That's where we're, yeah, still kind of in limbo a little bit.
Mike, do you have any questions for the mayor, or any comments on this robust conversation we've had today?
It's interesting. I find it really interesting. The CFO probably is the guy you should be chatting with about all the, because they set the budgets and they set the strategic plan, and if you want to take down certain things, 10%, so you can take that money and allocate it somewhere else, I can understand that. But I find it interesting that you say that there was money that wasn't in the budget that came in that was surplus, basically because it was money that you arranged to get back because of what you found out with the security thing. Where'd that money go?
And the reaching home. The reaching home money just come back too.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, matter of fact, our CFO was in the room, and he did say that we got no money. And so I had asked, well, how did we find $20,000 for town halls? And how did we find that money when, as you know, I mean, and again, I'm just going to ask, but it's no different than having a town hall that I want to have a town hall, where I had an agenda, and it would be at one of our facilities, and starting with seniors, right? And again, I don't think we needed to spend. It would be no different than holding a public hearing, really, right? At our own facility. And again, I'm sure I can find out, but how much would it cost from 6 o'clock at night to 11 o'clock at night for what you do in your work? What would that cost?
To do a town hall kind of a thing?
Yeah, well, like to do, for instance, no different than a public hearing. Like you've done public hearings at the.
It depends on all the equipment that we need, but somewhere between $5,000 and $2,000 kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Do you have ever paid lunches for the staff here?
No, but you know what's interesting?
No?
We do have.
Bill, how do you feel about that?
Now I'm in trouble. But we do have.
Well, he's not. But he's getting his money
I know,
from his business.
and
Okay, so whether he wants to or not, we're getting our money from the citizens of the community.
Yes.
Yeah, we
So
have
again, why
share.
aren't we? What about all our QP employees? Are we doing that every day for them? If we did it for why? I guess what I'm saying is, and you guys, I've talked to different mayors. When I asked one mayor, "What do you do in council?" He rolled back in his chair and he reached back and he grabbed the brown bag. He couldn't believe what we're doing.
Reid,
And $22,000.
when you ran your business, did your accountant say if you're going to expense meals, you have to have the meal available to all your staff, or else it becomes a paid benefit?
Well, as a matter of fact, I think if your meals for staff, I don't believe is. I mean, you could. It's kind of like you're supposed to spend money to generate business. So if I go by this fine gentleman here and here, lunch. It's for the intent of them
Talking business, talking
buying,
about something.
buying a car or something. But when we're
What do I have? What's my opinion on this? Are you saying I have an opinion on this?
No, you said get an example.
Oh, he's saying he wants to take us for lunch.
Yes.
Are you
Are you
not,
taking us for
are you not listening?
That's what I heard.
He's not even listening.
He's looking up his fantasy football team there because the
I
Bills
drowned you out.
lost. That's what he's
I
doing.
drowned you out for the last 2 minutes. I admit it.
He's
I
zoned
drowned you
out.
out.
He's looking. Watch. I bet she's looking at Buffalo Bills trivia.
Yeah,
Did
tough
you,
loss
did you
on
brown,
Monday.
Tough loss.
Did you?
loss.
I hope you didn't.
Who's the viewer that calls you Dimples? Let's say hi to this person.
Yeah.
Can we, you
Oh,
know,
it was a lady at the.
Say the story. That's a great story. You got a new nickname here.
can we just use this clip off the top? Do you mind if we just play what our interaction off the top that was not on camera about?
Sure, I don't care. Like I said, hey,
transparency.
Again, you bet it. And again, it's like all our emails are FOIable, so why not the conversation?
So who is the Dimples lady? Can you say?
She was a lady that came up to me at the Valley View
Community Fair last
community
weekend.
thing,
We were
yeah.
there shooting it for the paper. Yeah.
Okay, well, she came up and she said, "Oh, I'd like to." She asked some questions about things that are going on and things like that. And then after I talked to her, well, my wife and daughter were there too. And after we talked, she said, "I am so glad that I met you." She said, "You know, I watched that Kamloops this week." Because I probably don't smile a lot in here, but anyway, Kamloops last week, and she saw the pictures that Marty decides to put on, and they don't have. She said, "I didn't know that you
the
had
one of you
dimples."
looking like a mayor.
Yeah,
Didn't know
looking
you
like
had
the mayor
dimples.
at inauguration time.
Did
But
she
anyway,
pinch your cheek? Was she
Yeah.
Italian?
but she was
Ah,
another
very
one that
nice.
think that you guys pick on me.
Okay. Some people think that. Some people think we're too soft on you. So
Well, then get some heat on. Come on, turn
we
it
had
up.
some, I think we had some decent heat, and now we're having a little bit of fun. Okay, so that's what you can expect: some heat and some fun.
Yeah, no. Well, when you said to me, you said, "How can 8 people be wrong and 1 person be right?"
I'm bringing questions to you that people ask me. That's my job. Cool.
Good.
Okay. What an edition, a robust, rumbling edition of Reader's Digest with Dimples himself.
And he's gonna put the picture on.
And I'm because you know what? You asked me kindly. My issue was if you think that we're supposed to do what you want to do because you're the
No.
mayor, you got another thing coming.
No,
I think some
no.
viewers might see this as the mayor bullying you into cowing.
no.
That's all I'm saying.
And,
It
and
could
I'm
be,
not.
yeah.
I'm
No, I know,
asking
but some people
respectfully.
say,
I
well,
said,
Marty caved
now
again.
don't forget the
It's
word
such a big deal to
respectfully.
you. So
respectfully.
It's,
I just like you to put out who I really am. It's like that lady. She was so happy to meet
that's
me.
part of you now,
because,
though, right?
Because of
part of you now. You got to be the mayor. Sometimes you got to throw the gown and look like the mayor and have the. Oh, there's no chain anymore.
No,
right?
no.
no,
The chain got
I'm
stolen.
listening to people. I'm listening.
Don't get me
It's
started
that
on the
chain.
chain. Oh.
You know, no, it's like the chain. Jeez, don't get going with that.
It's in the landfill now, isn't it?
You know,
Maybe it's in the composting bins, the new ones.
well, I heard it's in the landfill. That's
Yeah,
what
that's what I heard too.
I've heard. That it's in the
Unsubstantiated. I
landfill.
heard it was found at a homeless encampment. And it
Yeah,
was taken
but we
to
do
the
have
landfill.
security cameras and everything now at City Hall. And
Yeah,
we've got
that's good. So the next time they try to
nobody-
steal one of your robes, they can
probably
catch
going to
it
be
on
looking
camera
for
there.
documents that are
yeah.
high intense documents, stuff like that. But
Okay, this has been brought to you by Volkswagen, Gord's, and McDonald's.
Blah, 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 blah.
Thanks.
Terry's a great guy at Volkswagen.
Oh, Terry's a great guy.
Great guy.
Low
and he's got
rates.
really low rates. LOWE rates.
Okay, bye.
Yes, we do have quite a few sales going on right now, but today I want to talk about specifically the Whirlpool and Maytag Buy More Save More that we have going on right now. So we've got all of our appliances are lowered in price. Here we have the Whirlpool 36-inch 4-door. And if you were to purchase this with a stove, you would save an additional $200 on top of the sale price. And if you were to get a dishwasher as well, you would save an additional $300 on top of the sale price. So you can get a pretty good package deal. Same thing goes if you're wanting a Whirlpool fridge and a Maytag stove, for example, you can cross-brand. So you can mix and match Whirlpool and Maytag. And we've got lots of new products lowered in price. We've got the new Maytag flush mount microwaves here.
Can you cross that one into the deal?
Absolutely. Yeah, this one's a brand new model, so if you're needing anything like that, it's a perfect time to come down. If you're needing new appliances, you're wanting to do a bit of an upgrade, maybe you got a rental suite, it's a perfect time to come on down and get in on the deals and get yourself a good package deal.
We can wrap the show now. This has been episode 108. Mike, let's start with you. Do you have any kind of thoughts in general on the show today?
You know, I think it's always good having the mayor on. It's interesting. It's shows a unique perspective, I guess. You know, and I like the ideas of maybe we can help out with the cause somehow. But overall, I find it weird that somebody doesn't like the number 8. That was my big takeaway.
I just can't. I can't abide by 8.
What's your favorite number?
13?
The 13 is a very
Unlucky
lucky
number,
number
13.
in Italy, actually.
Well, there you go. See?
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Yeah,
and
I
I
was
went to
gonna say
Italy, and I loved Italy, and I had to go back in a heartbeat.
So did I. It's amazing. 449 subscribers now. So thanks to everybody who's watching, listening on YouTube. Maybe we'll get to 450. We just hit 400. Now we're up to almost 450. So thank you to everyone who's supporting our show by watching and commenting. James Peters didn't like your joke last week, by the way.
Oh, what was
You
what
made
joke?
a joke about the rappers and
Yeah.
rapping. He said the premise is off because you don't just take the wrapping off the chocolate bar right away, just throw it away, and then you got chocolate over your hands, right?
It depends on what kind of chocolate bar you're
just
talking
walking
about
around
there. No.
Smarties, they don't wrap. They don't melt.
I'm saying
in
the
hands.
first
you don't
thing
just like dump them out and then you got the chocolate over your hands.
Well, the first thing you
gotta-
do is throw away the wrapper, and then you eat the chocolate bar.
But see, that's the problem. He doesn't like the premise of the joke because you don't just throw away the wrapper.
What about music? Is he a rap fan?
The joke's ruined. James Peters, I think.
No,
probably.
the joke is not ruined because have you ever seen any kind of Seinfeld episodes where they cut it and they eat it with a fork? That's how I eat it. So you can do it like that, and then the joke works. The joke
can
works
talk
because
about it
yes,
with a fork
well
at
you
night?
can if you're refined. You do that. You take
A
it and then
crunchy?
you cut.
You need a
Yes.
crunchy with a fork?
No, you
Well,
just,
sure
you
you
just
can.
walk around with chocolate hands all the time, then rub them on your clothes, which you then take to gourds.
When
and
you
wash.
buy a chocolate bar, you don't let it sit in your car in the middle of the summer in Kamloops all day and then eat it. You buy a chocolate bar, you open it up,
And just
you
one
throw
hit
it
down
away,
your
and
mouth?
then then you eat it as you. It's not going to melt.
Yes,
in like
it does. If
five
it's that hot,
seconds.
yes, it is.
No.
If it's 30 degrees in Kamloops, you
No,
got
that's what I'm
chocolate
saying. You
everywhere.
don't- I'm talking in the
You're
winter.
a barbarian.
It's a winter joke.
It's a joke.
It's a
in
winter
winter.
joke.
Well,
When it's minus
September.
40, Marty, you don't get it.
It's a good joke.
Any final thoughts?
No.
Okay. For Christopher, for Mike, for Bill, for Marty, we'll see you last week.